Today, the smart money is in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's about a $500 billion network. How big can it get? Well, 500 trillion, 1,000x bigger in today's dollars.
Renowned American business executive and entrepreneur Michael Saylor believes the eventual explosion in Bitcoin's price will be so exponential that just one Bitcoin will someday be worth tens of millions of dollars, a nice return for investors that are already in and those who will join much later. According to Saylor, Bitcoin's many important qualities, especially the strength of its underlying network, are enough assurance that the leading cryptocurrency will someday become a $500 trillion asset class, a 1,000% increase from the current Bitcoin market cap. During a recent interview, Saylor discusses one of the most important and common issues that people raise before investing in Bitcoin. Many people ask, is it too late to invest in Bitcoin in 2023? This is a common question many prospective investors have, and it's not unexpected considering that Bitcoin has been around for 14 years and many early investors have made millions of dollars by investing in Bitcoin and other crypto assets early. To answer this question, Saylor gives an interesting analogy comparing investing in Bitcoin now or even a few years down the line to buying property in New York City 100 years or a few decades ago. Saylor explains that New York was already the greatest city in North America by 1776, more than 100 years after it was founded by Dutch colonists around 1624. Anyone who had wanted to buy property in New York in 1776 would probably have considered themselves late to the party and thought those that got in earlier quite lucky. Yet people have continued to invest in the city and make great returns on their money for hundreds of years since then. Saylor reckons the same is going to happen with Bitcoin. Some people bought when one coin was under $100, some when it was $10,000 per coin, and millions are going to buy when a coin is selling for $100,000 or even $1 million. And investors on all levels will make their money in multiple folds. According to Saylor, Bitcoin is at the epicenter of cyberspace, where all of the world's 8 billion population will later inhabit in some form. And just like everyone was drawn to New York for its many great qualities, they will flock toward Bitcoin away from asset classes like bonds and equities. We will now bring you clips from Saylor's interview with Altcoin Daily as he paints a perfect picture of what Bitcoin's development will look like in the coming years. But before we do, please take a little time to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications for more videos like this. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
You know, New York was the greatest city in North America by about 1776. And you would have been late to the party. But the question is, would you buy a city block in New York in 1776? Or if you waited till 1876 and you were really late to the party and New York was the greatest city in North America, was it too late to buy a city block in New York City in 1876? Or how about 1976? If you were 200 years late to New York City, if you look at the property values of New York in 1976, what you'll find is you would be rich if you had actually bought real estate in New York in 1976. So the answer to the issue is in every economic system, every economic empire, there's always one city, one place that one network where people gravitate to. In ancient, in the ancient Med, it was Carthage for a while, and then it was Rome, and then it was Venice, and eventually the French Empire terminated in Paris, and the British Empire terminated in London, and then eventually the American economic empire terminated in New York. And there are reasons why. It's just everybody comes together in that place. Even today, New York is still the economic epicenter of the United States. And so Bitcoin represents the economic epicenter of cyberspace. It is the one place where if I want to create a digital application, if I want to move money at the speed of light, and I live in Singapore, I'm using Bitcoin. If I live in Paris, I'm using Bitcoin. If I live in Moscow, I'm using Bitcoin. If I live in China, I'm using Bitcoin. So you see, everybody in the world that actually believes in the idea of a digital asset that wants to build this as a treasury reserve asset, they're going to gravitate toward the most powerful network. Why? Because everybody else is gravitating there. Why do people go to New York? Because the smart money is in New York. I could go to New York 20 years ago. I could take 10 meetings. I could raise $1 billion in 2 days. So why would you be so stupid as to go to New York? Well, because that's where the money is. The money is in New York. So I went. And what did I bring with me? I brought my brain power and I built my business there. And so I then reinforced that network effect. There's about $950 trillion worth of wealth out there, 350 trillion worth of real estate. Half of it is just capital or monetary premium. $300 trillion worth of bonds. Half of it is just a monetary premium. 100 trillion worth of equity. Half of it is a monetary premium. 11, 12 trillion worth of gold. 80% of it is a monetary premium. So as the world gets smarter, people are going to sell those things because they don't make good money. Gold is awful money, right? It's just awful money. If you store your money in gold, you're losing half of your wealth every 35 years. So why would you do that, right? It's not working. In the last 2.5 years, gold is down 5%. Bitcoin is up 150%. The only people that are buying or holding gold are people that aren't paying attention, right? The smart money is clearly running away from it. And in time, people will dump their gold. And when they dump their gold, Bitcoin will jump by a factor of 10.
During the interview, Saylor uses himself as an example. Once a Bitcoin critic, the MicroStrategy executive chairman had once tweeted that the leading crypto asset was going to go the way of online gambling. That was in 2013 when each coin was trading below $100. Years later, when Bitcoin passed the business executive's test and proved to be a worthy investment, each coin was trading for around $10,000. Saylor says he didn't stop to consider those that had invested earlier because he knew there was still so much to be made from buying and holding Bitcoin. Here are more clips from the interview.
The answer to the question of why you should buy a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin represents one block in cyber New York, which has got 21 million blocks for all of eternity. And in the year 2500, people are going to be moving to cyber New York. Right? I mean, New York was founded a long time ago, right? The only thing that keeps people from continuing to come into the great city, whether it's the New York or the London or the Paris, is when the economic flows move from the physical domain to the digital domain. As long as you did business in an analog world where you had to like put on a suit and walk into a building and meet with people, then you're going to see London and Paris and Tokyo and Hong Kong be great cities. When the economy moves to the digital realm and you don't have to put on a suit and walk into a building and you can have a Zoom meeting of 20 people in 20 places and raise $1 billion in a day, right? Then some of the economic energy drains out of the city networks and it drains into the crypto network. And so buying a Bitcoin, whether it's 1 Bitcoin or 1 million Satoshis or 100,000 Satoshis or 1 Satoshi, is just like buying into New York City 250 years ago. Yeah, sure, you're late. People got there 100 years before you. Okay. Well, in this case, someone got there 14 years before you. I once tweeted, very famously, I said, I think Bitcoin is, going the way of online gambling. And I think Bitcoin is like $100 a coin then. Okay. And I was wrong, but I didn't need it. I was wrong. When I needed Bitcoin was $9,500, $10,000 a coin. And so I bought it at $10,000 instead of $100. People will buy it at 100,000. They will buy it at 1 million. They will probably buy it at 10 million, right? Because, how much does it cost for an apartment in Manhattan? People pay $10 million for 4,000 square feet, $10 million, right? All of Manhattan was purchased for like $29 in beads or something. If you roll the clock back, some nothing. And so you can't really get caught up in what the unit price is. You have to ask the question, what is the dominant network in cyberspace? And Bitcoin is the dominant network. And the reason it's the dominant network is a bunch of things. One, all the smart money arrived there, right? If all the smart people that wanted a decentralized, non-sovereign store of value crypto network, if they all showed up, looked at 10,000 choices and picked this one and put all their money on it, right? That's like all the smart people, they showed up in America and they picked New York. Bitcoin is backed by 400 exahash of digital energy, and 400 exahash of digital energy makes it the most powerful computer network in the world. And so if I'm going to put $1 billion on it, I would want the indestructible, nation state resistant, fault tolerant, most powerful computer network in the world. I wouldn't want the second most powerful network. And I wouldn't want a network 100 times less powerful. I want a network where you would need every computer in the world to slow it down 10%. And you would need all the electricity in the world to slow it down 10%. And that's what Bitcoin represents because of the way it's engineered. It represents an indestructible, unstoppable, most powerful computer network. And so anybody is looking to, if you're looking right now, you shouldn't look at it as, well, I wanted to buy something cheap and wait for it to go up 100x, so I better buy something that's a penny stock. It's not a matter of the cost to buy the thing. It's a question of how secure is the network you're buying into.
Over the next years and decades, Saylor expects the economic activities and gains in cities around the world to begin bleeding into cyberspace. Despite being around for only 14 short years, Bitcoin has already established itself as the world's leading digital asset and the epicenter of economic activities in cyberspace. So it is expected that it would get a giant share of all economic activities and investments that bleed into cyberspace. What are your thoughts on Michael Saylor's analogy between Bitcoin and New York City and his long-term predictions for the leading digital asset? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications for more videos. Thanks for watching.